Hi there everyone, welcome back to the 67 Hail Hail channel on YouTube with me, Hamish. As you can no doubt tell, I'm here at Celtic Park. I thought I would make a bit of an effort for the channel. Restrictions have been eased a little bit in Scotland. It means that we can now travel anywhere in our wonderful country, and one of the first places I wanted to come to do a video is of course the greatest stadium in Scotland. It is Celtic Park. I've actually not been here in well over a year. I'd never even heard of pandemics and COVID and stuff like that the last time I was here. It was for a derby match against Rangers at New Year. We lost it, but we went on to win the league. It's been a long time is what I'm trying to say. But I'm here for business, and that business is creating another video for you wonderful fans of the channel. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you've not done it yet. I'm sure this video is going to get a lot of conversation going in the comments because it's going to be a controversial one. We're going to dial up a bit of the feeling ahead of the big game against Rangers tomorrow. Our soon-to-be departing captain Scott Brown won't be playing these derby matches for much longer, but he certainly had a big impact in the ones he has played over the last 14 years. And today's video, as you can tell by the title, is 8 times that Scott Brown completely bodied Rangers. Hope you enjoy. Right, we're starting with one that doesn't actually even involve Scott Brown doing anything in a Celtic shirt. In a roundabout way it does, but mainly it's to do with the amazing contender for this aged well of the century. It is of course the Rangers fans singing "We're going to take Scott Brown." Away back at the end of, I think it was season 2005-2006, Rangers visiting Easter Road to play Hibs, Scott Brown playing for Hibs. They sang the song. The rest is really history. Scott Brown goes on to win 23 trophies, leaves Glasgow at the end of this season. The only problem from a Rangers point of view is that he did all of those things in a Celtic shirt. Rangers, by the way, instead plumped for Kevin Thompson. He was last seen playing for Tranent Juniors, so there's the golfing class for you. 31st of March 2019, right here at Celtic Park. Rangers are the visitors, Celtic are 2-1 winners with a late James Forrest goal, but that really only tells half the story. Rangers have 2 players sent off during the match, Alfredo Morelos and Andy Halliday, who was technically just after the game, and then even Ryan Kent banned a few days later. Steven Gerrard comes out and blames Scott Brown for antagonising his poor Rangers players, and basically that is what happened. Scott Brown got Morelos sent off by winding him up. Did the same to Andy Halliday, who was protecting his people apparently after the game, and Ryan Kent got a ban as well for thumping Scott Brown after Celtic's second goal, something that he would have got sent off had the referee somehow managed to see that. The best bit of this though, the bit I really wanted to pick out, was this amazing Scott Brown interview. You'll know the one by now. He's getting quizzed by Sky Sports about some of the events that happened during the game, and just this wee smirk he gives, absolutely incredible. A bit of a trademark of Scott Brown playing in derby matches over the years has been so-called big name, high profile, controversial figures from across the city thinking they could come in, rile Scott Brown, get the better of him, and then been sent packing basically. Now the first one of these I want to touch on is Joey Barton. He had barely even signed for Rangers before he was calling out people at Celtic. He called out Brendan Rodgers for having a midlife crisis. He said Scott Brown wasn't even in his league, to which Scott Brown replied, "No, he's in my league." And to be fair, it was Barton who was miles out of Scott Brown's league. He was miles off the pace. He only actually played one derby match here at Celtic Park. It's the famous 5-1 one that we all remember. The highlights of that game: Barton not being able to look Scott Brown in the eye in the handshake before the matches, an eagerly anticipated bounce ball, drop ball between Barton and Scott Brown that was won by, guess who? And again, a brilliant post-match interview from Scott Brown when he was asked what he was doing chatting to Barton after one of the goals, and he said, "I was just making sure he was okay." This was just typical of a so-called big-named English player thinking he could turn up to Scotland, thinking he could turn up to take on Scott Brown and get the better of him, and as I said, he was sent packing. Another big name from English football, another controversial figure that turned up in Glasgow and was seen off by Brown, was El Hadj Diouf. We all know the amazing goal Scott Brown scores at Ibrox when Celtic badly need a bit of inspiration. It's an amazing finish. The celebration is probably more iconic than the goal itself. Probably the most iconic celebration of the 21st century in terms of Celtic players. Maybe only the Henrik Larsson tongue eclipses it. But again, it was just an example of Scott Brown being at his best when he's got that direct one-on-one competition. I've got to get the better of you. And needless to say, El Hadji Diouf didn't last too much longer in Scotland after that. If ever there was an image that summed up Scott Brown's dominance in these fixtures, it was in the game in December 2016. We won 2-1 at Ibrox, came from behind to win that game. Brilliant performance from Celtic after a poor start to the game. There's two instances in this game that feature Scott Brown that I want to touch on. I've touched on both of them in the channel previously. The first one is after about 20 or 25 minutes. Celtic have been really slow at the start of the game. Rangers have been all over us. We haven't been able to deal with the press at all. We're not up for the game for some reason. Scott Brown takes it upon himself to completely wipe out one of the Rangers players. Now that in itself wasn't a massive thing, but what happened soon after was, after the pretty rash foul and the booking, he turned to his Celtic teammates and really roared at them, got them going, and needless to say from that point Celtic were brilliant at Ibrox. We earned a fairly comprehensive 2-1 victory. Another moment I wanted to touch on, midway through the second half, just prior to Celtic getting that second goal through Scott Sinclair, Scott Brown's chasing a ball out to his own byline. He plays it off, I think, Jason Holt to win a goal kick. The momentum takes him off the pitch, clatters almost into the Rangers support actually, gets up, has to go over an advertising hoarding to get back onto the pitch, and as he's hopping over the advertising board and he's getting dog's abuse from the Rangers support. But what does Scott Brown do? He just elongates his return onto the pitch. He stands at the top of the advertising hoarding, almost beckoning more abuse from the Rangers support. It was Scott Brown in a nutshell, him standing above everyone else. It was a brilliant moment. You heard the roars in the Broomloan stand from the 7,000 odd Celtic fans. It says a lot about Scott Brown that so many of the moments on this list actually came at the most hostile of environments for a Celtic player, Ibrox. One of the ones I wanted to touch on now was probably my favourite victory at Ibrox, a game I was at, March of 2018. It's the 3-2 victory, the time the 10 men won at Ibrox against Rangers, a huge victory for Celtic. And Scott Brown had a huge part to play in this win. Not just his driving performance, but the way he actually provided the quality when it was badly needed for Celtic. We all know the moment I'm talking about. Celtic are trailing 2-1, Ibrox is rocking, well, three sides of Ibrox are rocking. Scott Brown has the ball inside his own half. Daniel Candeias it is from Rangers, who really senses an opportunity to lay one on Scott Brown, to take him out late and to get even more roars inside Ibrox. He does that just after Scott Brown passes the ball. Cue the roars from Ibrox, but it then goes pretty silent other than the Broomloan as people realise what a good 60-yard pass Scott Brown has played. He's played it in for Moussa Dembele, who chests it in and then lobs it over Wes Foderingham. Scott Brown, meanwhile, starts celebrating. He just stands and stares at the Rangers support. Absolutely amazing pass, brilliant goal. Celtic go on to win the game 3-2 with 10 men in the second half. Scott Brown's got the sunglasses on at full time. What a day out that was. Would Celtic have won that game without Scott Brown? I don't think so. So far all these moments have been pretty high profile. One that probably isn't nearly as much, it didn't lead to a goal, it didn't stop a goal, it wasn't a booking, it wasn't a red card, it wasn't a penalty kick, it wasn't a handball. It was just a bit of Scott Brown's game that we probably don't hear spoken about enough. It was a bit of genuine quality. It's a game at Ibrox in autumn of 2017. We won it 2-0, and it's just one of the best bits of play I've ever seen from Scott Brown or any Celtic midfielder in one of these games, to be honest. It's so iconic and so easy in the eye that you probably already know the one I'm talking about. He picks the ball up in his own half and turns defence into attack so quickly with a brilliant drag back and a perfectly weighted ball with his weaker left foot for Paddy Roberts, who's on the counter-attack for Celtic. You'll find that easily online. I'm not allowed to post it on here for copyright issues, but it's just an amazing piece of skill, and it's probably a bit of Scott Brown's game that isn't spoken about nearly enough. It was genuine quality. And even when things were a bit duller in games, probably the dullest Celtic Rangers match we can ever remember was the one at Hampden. They were in, I think, the second or even maybe the first division at the time. We beat them 2-0 without ever really getting out of first gear at all, but you could always rely on Scott Brown to add some sort of drama to proceedings. and Scott Brown takes it upon himself to put in a pretty crude challenge on Ian Black as the incensed former Hearts midfielder gets up, confronts Scott Brown. Scott Brown simply points to the scoreboard. He gives that amazing wee smirk. Again, it's an iconic image. The kind of image that Rangers fans must have been seeing when they went to sleep for months and even years after that game. So that's 8 reasons, and Watch Mojo style, I'm going to give a couple of honourable mentions as well. To be honest, I could have had 18 reasons. 2 more I want to pay attention to. The first one is when Scott Brown is interviewed by Chris Sutton around about this time last year after Celtic have just won 9 in a row. Chris Sutton asked Scott Brown about what he makes of some of the comments that it's a tainted title. What would he say to these people who are calling it a tainted title? Scott Brown simply replies, "I'd tell them to come round and see my trophy." And a final one is going back to Celtic's 5-1 win at Ibrox, a day Scott Brown was just at his absolute best in the derby. Aggression, but also real quality. Brendan Rodgers in the 92nd or 93rd minute gives him the chance to walk off to probably the loudest standing ovation I can ever remember any Celtic player getting. The whole Broomloan is singing his name. Scott Brown takes the longest walk off the pitch and then gives a wee look to Abu Kouassi, who comes on for about 5 seconds, I think, before the full-time whistle goes in that one. Hopefully it's not long before everyone can be back here at Celtic Park together. That first Celtic goal we score here, that first You'll Never Walk Alone, is going to be absolutely magical. I've been lucky to be here today. Thanks for watching the video. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and we'll speak to you all very soon.